The Battle of the Somme, fought from July to November 1916, was one of the bloodiest engagements of the First World War. Millions of soldiers endured grueling conditions, struggling in the mud, under relentless artillery fire and machine gun bullets. The Somme has come to symbolize the futility of trench warfare, but it remains a topic of fierce historical debate. Who really won the Battle of the Somme? By the end of 1915, the Allies desperately needed a new strategy. The Central Powers had defeated the Russian army, crushed Serbia, contained Italy, halted the Gallipoli landings, and stopped French offensives in the West. Allied planners decided to exploit their numerical superiority with massive summer offensives in 1916 across the Eastern, Italian, and Western Front. French commander Joseph Joffre chose the Somme River area for the Western Offensive, where British and French sectors met. France, with its larger army, was to take the lead. However, in February 1916, the Germans launched a massive attack at Verdun. The French held on at great cost, forcing the Allies to adjust their plan. The largely untested British army would now have to bear the brunt of the offensive on the offensive's objectives were unclear beyond relieving pressure on Verdun. Joffre spoke of breakthroughs beyond Peronne and Bapaume, but French reserves were insufficient. British commander Douglas Haig envisioned breaking through German fortifications after wearing them down, yet significant strategic targets were lacking behind the German line. Haig later claimed his goal was attrition, a topic still debated among historians. Other Allied generals had differing views. British Fourth Army commander Henry Rawlinson preferred advancing in short stages to provoke costly German counterattacks, while French Sixth Army commander General Marie-Aimé Fayolle was frustrated by the lack of clear objectives. General Philippe Pain, commanding at Verdun, pressured the British to attack, threatening to abandon the city if they did not. The British cabinet worried about French recklessness and their potential losses, while the French feared the British lacked the resolve for a tough fight despite their suffering at Verdun. The Allies agreed that overwhelming artillery fire was crucial to any successful infantry advance. A lesson from the failed 1915 offensive. They planned a massive bombardment to crush German defenses, followed by a creeping barrage to protect advancing infantry. Rawlinson wanted to focus the barrage on the first German line, but Haig insisted on targeting the second line as well and envisioned cavalry exploiting any breakthroughs. The German defenses, however, were formidable. Occupying high ground since 1914, they had two main defensive lines and a third under construction. Deep shelters and thick barbed wire provided strong protection. German Second Army commander Fritz von Bülow planned to defend every inch and retake any lost position. Despite their strong defenses, the Germans had too many troops in forward trenches exposed to Allied artillery. The stage was set for an Allied offensive on the Somme. On June 24, 1916, the Allies commenced a bombardment of unprecedented scale, firing over 2 million shells in the first week. The shelling impressed, stressed, and angered German soldiers. The Allies, with superior numbers and firepower, hoped for a swift advance. Some British troops were confident the artillery had decimated German positions, while others were fearful. On July 1, 1916, at 7:30 a.m., British troops went over the top into a deadly hail of bullets. The artillery bombardment had been ineffective. Many shells were duds, and the German wire and dugouts remained largely. German troops emerged from their shelters to devastating effect, mowing down British soldiers who advanced according to their training. Only in the south, with French artillery support, did British units achieve modest success. The French, more experienced and concentrated in their fight, made significant gains, capturing 8,000 prisoners and advancing up to 7 kilometers. July 1st was the worst single day in British military history, with 57,000 casualties, including 19,240 deaths. The French suffered about 7,000 casualties, while German losses were estimated at 10,000 to 12,000. The British home front was shocked by the scale of the losses, especially among the New Pales battalions. Despite initial failures, both sides prepared for continued fighting. The Germans were concerned about Allied strength, and General von Bülow stressed the importance of holding their positions. Haig briefly considered halting the offensive, but French pressure led to renewed attacks on July 14, achieving better results. The battle then devolved into a series of local attacks, with both sides funneling in reserve. In September, the British introduced tanks on the battlefield, creating panic among German troops. However, the tanks were too few and unreliable to be decisive. Continued British and French attacks made some gains, but failed to achieve a break. The arrival of autumn rains turned the battlefield into a swamp, further hampering operation. By November, the Battle of the Somme ended with massive casualties on both sides. The Allies failed to achieve a decisive break, but they did relieve Verdun and inflicted significant losses on the Germans. The battle became a symbol of the horrors of trench warfare and a key moment in the First World War, shaping future military tactics and strategies. The Somme remains a subject of historical debate, reflecting on the immense human cost and the strategic outcomes of the conflict.